So, what are the two things you're never supposed to talk about? Politics and religion. All right, we're going to talk about both of them. We're going to talk about politics and religion. So why are we not supposed to talk about politics and religion? And this is, we can participate here. It's okay to just shout it right out. Why are we not, why?
People get like angry.
Anger, right. People get angry. People can't agree, right? But why? Why do those two in particular
Because
make
we
me...
see through different glasses.
We see through different glasses, right? Because these are triggers. Because when you're dealing with politics and religion, you're dealing with people's worldview. You're dealing with the basic fundamental way they look at life, right? Politics is the way we see the external world, and religion is the way we see the internal world. Religion gets really heated because it also goes into the afterlife. Don't mess with my afterlife. I got this figured out, and you are really screwing it up now. Now I'm getting angry, and this little psychological concept kicks in called cognitive dissonance. Anybody ever hear of that? All right. So cognitive dissonance basically says it's very hard and uncomfortable to hold two contrary beliefs in your system at the same time. It creates a lot of psychological stress. So if you're a person who really is very much all about honesty, and then you tell a little white lie, it really has an impact, right? Or the other way is not just when you behave differently than how you feel, but it's when someone presents you with information that is contrary to everything you believe. It creates a lot of discomfort, right? And then people start to defend themselves because you're hanging on for dear life to the way you've constructed the world. And I'll tell you, I don't know how many billion people in the world, but there's a billion points of view. So everyone is very much, I gotta get a little water. It's a very interesting phenomenon, and it's really, really hard to fully grasp the impact of all this and how this is playing out now. But once you're really committed and really convicted to your worldview, then you become right. In your mind, you're right. What happens when you're right? Lots of billions of people are wrong. So we end up in a world of right and wrong. How well has that served us up to now? Not so good. So if anything is accomplished in this talk, it's advice number one is let go of being right. It's a simple statement, but really hard to do. And we're here at Unity, and we've got a way of thinking. I'm sure we think we're right. I've got thousands of people on my Facebook music page and all that. Most of them are Unity or music people. And some of them get downright ugly when they're defending them being right. So just being here isn't a pass on this topic. You have to keep an open mind that, guess what? There might be a piece of information that shows up in your field one day that makes everything we've learned here obsolete. I'm not going to use the word wrong, but just obsolete, because that's how it works. That's why the Flat Earth Society no longer exists, right? That thought became obsolete. People hung on to it for dear life. They were going in that. They were swimming in the ocean and taking their boats in the ocean, and they wanted to fall off just to prove that they were right. They wanted to fall off the flat Earth, because I know I'm right. And they defended that worldview to that degree. And that's what happens. So we really have to get rid of the concept of being right. And Reverend Toro taught me so much, and I really liked the way he always brought the Bible into his talks, because the Bible's got a lot of wisdom in it. So I don't want this talk just to be me and my opinion. I really want it to be grounded in something that has a lot of years of wisdom and substance to it. So there is a quote Proverbs 27, verse 19, it says, as in water, face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects man. So that's as straightforward a line as you'll ever get from the Bible. Usually you have to decipher them for 20 minutes and figure them out. But this one's straightforward. It's basically saying the heart of man is reflected in man. That's the concept, that's the topic of mirroring. That was what my song was about. So mirroring it's got some psychological ties to it, but it's got multi-levels and multi-layers. It all starts as an individual, like everything does. But then what we've also gotten wrapped up in is the concept of group mirroring, what happens in the group dynamic. But it's really tied, and one of the unity principles is the law of mind action, which has been popularized recently as the law of attraction. And if you don't really believe or understand or really own the law of attraction, then the rest of this talk might just kind of bounce off of you, because it's all based in this law. The mirroring concept, the law of reflection, is the consequence of the law of attraction. So the law of attraction basically says that your predominant thoughts and your predominant feeling, I'm going to use an analogy of a radio station. It sets up a signal, okay? You have a certain frequency and a certain signal that you emit based on the totality of your thoughts and feelings. So it's not just as simple as you think this and it just shows up. It's not a one-time deal. It's the totality of your thoughts and feelings that tunes you into a certain signal, okay? And, the funny thing is we are transmitters and receivers. As human beings, we are that. My phone, of all people, right? Hello? Yeah. Well, it's funny because the next thing I was going to talk about was cell phones. All right? So there you go. I got a phone call. But here's what I want to say. We have no problem understanding the concept or accepting the concept that, all right, enough now. We have no problem accepting the concept that we could pick up a phone, dial a number, and within 2 seconds and no wires, somebody in China could pick it up and say hello. We've accepted that. We don't consider that woo-woo or magic or weird or witchcraft or any of that stuff. Now, if that happened 500 years ago, you better believe you'd be burned at the stake for that kind of stuff. But it's now in our consciousness. It's the science of the day. We've grown to accept it, even though I'm sure none of us really know how that works, unless you're some kind of astrophysicist or whatever, whoever creates cellular technology. I don't know. But, how do those words just fly through the air? Do you ever think of that? How do they? I don't know. And then it shows up and there it is, with a little emoji and a smiley face, and everything's there. Just exactly the way you sent it. But how? How does that happen? I don't know. But there's a science behind it. We've accepted the fact that there's a science behind it. So because there's a science behind it, we're all completely comfortable with that. I happen to think the human body is probably a little bit more technologically advanced than a cell phone. That's just my opinion. I happen to think the human body is a miracle that I don't understand it either. And I've been in the science field for forever. And every time I get into a new product or a new disease state that I'm learning about, I'm always in awe. It always brings me to God, because how on earth does this enzyme know to go here, and how does this one know to change that into this, and then it finally shows up where it's supposed to, and there's a receptor, and that receptor says, let's do this and that. How on earth, right? So you have to accept the fact that we are transmitters and receivers. If we accept it for a cell phone, please, just for the sake of this conversation, accept it for your body, okay? So we tune into a station, and now we're tuned in. And now we're sending and receiving, as we do. We're transmitters and receivers. We're sending and we're receiving. All that belongs on that station. Everything that fits that signal, it shows up in your life, because that's what the law of attraction is. So when people come to you, and you're at unity, and you look at one another, and the mirror is beautiful, right? I look at Gloria, and I see such a beautiful reflection in me. I'm like, all right, I got this. I'm good. I'm good. My reflection's good. And then I go out in the street and I make a little mistake and somebody gives me the finger. And I'm like, he's a jerk. And then I catch myself and I remember, he's part of my station. He's part of me, because nothing that comes at you from out there can come at you from out there if it isn't part of who you are. If that's not part of your energy field, that would not be. Right? It just wouldn't. What's that? That's I know exactly what it meant. Oh, I'm from Jersey. I know that salute very well. So that's the concept here. The concept of mirroring is that when you're dealing with people that challenge you, it's you. It's your energy field that's looking at you. It's your reflection. And B, it's a gift, right? It's a gift. It's so hard to see it as a gift when somebody gives you the finger, I know. Believe me. But still in all, it's a gift. There's some part of me that still has that little roughneck Jersey fighting kid is still in me. So every now and then it comes flying back at me to remind me that still needs to be cleared. That still needs to be cleared. And that's what mirroring is. That's what the law of mirroring is. So the advice here, the gift here, is to begin to be conscious of that and to realize that these are truly gifts. It's better than going to a therapist. It really is. Because these gifts are just flat out in your face. There's no, they're not tiptoeing around with these. They're just saying, hey, you got to work on this. Or you could go to a therapist for years and they'll tiptoe around it. Maybe they'll get to it, maybe they won't. But the law of reflection, the mirror will always tell you the truth, right? I don't know about you, but when I get out of the shower and there's that mirror there, I'm like, all right. Could we put a towel or something over there? Because it's not the reflection I want to see, right? And I don't know how many people could literally just stand naked in front of the mirror and be completely happy with the way they look. But the point is, it's a reflection. It helps you see what you need to work on. In my case, I might need to lose a couple pounds. It just helps you see what your reflection is so that you can work with that. So that's the concept of individual mirroring. Is everybody on board with that? Yeah. Good, because now it gets complicated. Now's when you're like, oh, God, how does this work? So this is where it gets really complicated, because now there's this thing happening, and it always has happened, but it's very, very evident now. There's this group consciousness mirroring. So just like you as an individual emit a signal and tune into a station, so do groups. And those groups, to whatever degree you consider yourself a member of that group, that doesn't mean you have to be signed up. Doesn't mean you have to go to meetings. It means you're emotionally attached to the thought process that group has. If you're emotionally attached and you live your life based on the thought process of that group, you're part of that group, and you're now part of emitting a group signal. It could be good, it could be bad. We do it as unity. And we kind of consciously do it when we ask that our love be sent out into the universe. We kind of consciously know what we're doing when we do that. But there's a lot of groups that have a lot of thoughts. And sometimes these groups happen when you're young and you're part of a group and you didn't even sign up for it. You didn't even want to. Like your family. That was the first group. And they taught you everything to think, right? Here's what you got to think about that. So when you're looking at this group consciousness, you really have to think to yourself, what is my thought versus what thought was given to me, right? Religion's another great one. There's a saying that if you get a hold of a kid at the age of 5 and send him through Catholicism, they'll be Catholic forever. Well, it didn't work with me, but they tried. But that's, my mom gave me freedom. And I bless her and my grandmother for that. But at a young age, even in this world of Catholicism, they gave me the freedom to explore and the freedom to be a free thinker. And I'm so happy about that. I'll give you a little example. My grandmother, about this tall, Sicilian. And you know in Catholicism, you're not supposed to eat meat on Fridays, right? That's like a big no-no. And she was the most spiritual person I know. I do a whole talk on her. She literally, she's kind of the Jesus figure to me because I actually saw it in life. I saw how you could live like Jesus as a person in this day and age. So it was a great example for me. So one day she's making meatballs on a Friday in Lent. And I was like, damn, we're all going to hell now. And Grandma's taking us there. Oh, God. So how do I approach this? So I said, Grandma, it's Friday. Maybe you missed it. Maybe you thought it was Thursday or something. It's Friday and you're making meat. She just had this little grin on her face and she goes, it's a no meat, it's a meat the ball. I kid you not, this is not a made-up story. She says, not meat, it's a meatball. So what was she telling me, though? What was she telling me? She says, lighten up. Don't take all these stupid rules so seriously. And have your own individual relationship with God. That's what she told me by saying it's no meat, it's a meat the ball. Right? And I ran with that. I totally ran with that. And that's been the story of my life ever since. And it's been a wonderful, fascinating journey. So really happy about that. But this group consciousness thing is an issue. Because remember we went back to right and wrong? Okay? Everybody's right. And everybody's wrong. Think about the groups out there. Think about the right and wrong consciousness. Think about the us and them consciousness. And I guarantee there's not a single person in this room, including myself, that doesn't at some level see something as us and them. It just happens, unless you're conscious about it and you make it not happen. So I'm going to give you an example. It's a huge, big, ugly, graphic example of what us and them looks like at the extreme. It's called ISIS. That's what us and them looks like at the extreme. It's called Hitler. And we have to look in the mirror and understand and realize and own the fact that we own that energy, or we wouldn't be seeing it in our reflection. It wouldn't be in our news feed every day. We have to own the fact that while we may not be as extreme as them, to some degree we're on that same continuum, and we're contributing to the problem. And we are unity. We need to contribute to the solution. So the solution is stop being right and get off this continuum. It's not us, it's not them, it's we. So just think about how us and them could look in your life. And it happens so insidiously that we don't even realize it. But I'm sure at some point, we've all had the thought that, oh my God, wouldn't things just be easier on earth if it wasn't for them? Right? I mean, God, they're screwing up everything. I wish they would just disappear or go somewhere. Now, that's a thought. We laugh, right? Because we've all had it. The only difference between us and ISIS is they're committed to doing it. They're committed to making that happen because that's how they see the world. There's us and them. And then you add a layer of religion in there, and it really intensifies that feeling. And then you add the afterlife to it. And you call them a name like infidel, which is basically Satan. And now you're on a holy crusade. Now you're on a holy crusade to make this world a better place because we have to get rid of them. And once they're gone, this is going to be an amazing place. So I think I'll play this little song now. As I was looking for group songs yesterday, I was flipping through my book, and I saw this song that I had started. And I didn't realize how well it would fit here. So we had about 45 minutes left before we had to leave for the rest of the day. And I'm like, I got to get this song finished. I got to do it tomorrow. So here it is. It's called Us and Them. All right. I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit. It's hard to lighten up genocide, but I'm gonna try. This world would be a much better place if it wasn't for them. They've been ruining things since I can't remember when. Without them, this world would be a much better place. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing their face. This world would be a much better place if it wasn't for them. Why can't they just give up and admit that we're right? Why do they always have to put up such a fight? I mean, really, if these people just had half a brain, then maybe they would stop driving me insane. If they would just see things my way, would be okay. Well, they sure have a lot of nerve. How could they think I'm wrong? But I will get the final word with this song. This world would be a much better place if it was just us. Then we wouldn't have to put up with all their fuss. Man, how I wish I had a magic wand. I'd wave it all around and poof, they'd be gone. This world would be a much better place if it was just us. All my Facebook memes would make me happy, and I wouldn't have to fight. And everyone I know would know that I'm right. Sometimes I'll be honest when I sit home alone at night. I wonder if what I believe is really right. Maybe they've been trying to help me figure that out. Maybe I just hate them 'cause I'm scared of my doubt. I wonder who would help me see that if it wasn't for them. Suddenly I realize that they are just like me. Stubborn and committed to the world the way they see it. I wonder if at night sometimes they have the same doubts. I wonder if I'm here to help them figure it out. Maybe us and them is really we. Maybe they belong here just like me. Nah. Yeah, so that's what this is really all about. It's so much bigger than you and I and just leading a nice little life. It's so much bigger than that. It's doing an inventory of our thoughts. Get rid of the stuff that's been handed to you that's outdated and you don't need. Do some inventory. Get rid of the junk you don't need. Get rid of the groups that you're emotionally attached to that you know are sending out signals that are negative and hurtful and divisive. Us and them. Get rid of those groups. They don't help anything. They don't. Any group that's against anything, what you resist persists. There's a movement now called resist, right? And we probably, a lot of us are in it, right? But what you resist persists. You're adding energy. You're putting negative energy out into the world. And it's not helping. It doesn't help your reflection one bit. So it's time to let go of being right It's time to do a personal inventory of who we are, what we believe. And then it's time to tune into that beautiful station that we all want to see. And we can do that. We can do that by changing the inside. You can't do it on the outside in. It has to be on the inside out. And it's none of our business what other people think. It just isn't. We don't have any need or any right to try to convince them to see the world our way. There's a billion people, there's a billion ways of seeing things. But I promise, as you clean up all those remnant thoughts and you start taking in all of the feedback you get on a daily basis from the mirror, if you really use that as your growth tool, if that becomes your church, so to speak, to really look consciously every day at something that showed up in your mirror that surprised you and that you didn't like, then I promise you, you will start to see a very, very different reflection. And like I said at the beginning, I'm just one of you. I'm working on this just the same way everybody is. And I still have that guy giving me the finger every now and then. So, bless you all. Beautiful reflection. Let's keep that reflection glowing. Thank you.